So this month we're looking at really taking to heart the Master Teacher Jesus' admonition. Judge ye not by appearances, but judge ye by righteous judgment. And we are putting that into context in our current economic situation. As we spoke last week, this is part 2. Because everywhere we turn, it looks like that we're on the verge of a recession, that all things are going haywire, but then the news always tells us that, but we listen to that. We take that in. And we take in whatever the economist of that time decides to impart to us. And of course, there's evidence that this is true. So we're not denying that it's true. But as science of mind practitioners, and that's all of us who choose to practice the spiritual way of living, which is living in truth, it's that simple, no dogma, just living in the flow of life, this is what Ernest Holmes says. And we don't, by the way, deny the facts. Because there are things, and there are a lot of spiritual people that will deny the fact that an illness exists, that they're moving, that whatever it is. Well, we don't do that, but this is what Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, says. Disease is a fact, but not a truth. It is an experience, but not a spiritual reality. We must transcend the appearance, even as we admit the fact. So remember, the facts always change. They're facts, but they change. Spiritual truth remains constant and is always available in us and through us. And so that's what we talked about last week, and we are continuing it this week. Transcending the appearance and looking to the spiritual reality behind everything. Because there always is a spiritual reality behind every experience. And that's what Jesus meant when he used those words. Judge by righteous judgment, right thinking. See the spiritual reality, the truth of every situation. We are exploring the 10 demandments of an abundant consciousness, all of which takes us to a place of righteous judgment. I introduced the demandments last week, we did 5, and said, if you remember, that these are not demandments made of me. These are not demandments made of Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center. These are not demandments made of religious science. But they are demandments made by the universe itself. We create, the law responds. And when we meet these demandments and align with the abundance, that whole abundant state of consciousness, we shall prosper, even though all the banks shall close their doors. And I'm quoting Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity there. We shall prosper, no matter what the situation. We looked at the first 5 of the 10 Demandments last week, and we had 5 tasks. And if you actually read your newsletter that we send out every week, you will see what those tasks were. If not, check your email. Look in the spam even, and maybe it's in there. But I'm going to review the last 5 real quick for you. These are going to be the demandments and their related tasks. The first was, thou shalt make no graven mental image of lack. Your task last week, when your attention turns to lack and limitation, you were to say to yourself, "'Tain't so." I know some people did. "'Tain't so." My air conditioner stopped last night. I couldn't say "'tain't so." But I could say, I am so grateful that my sister lives 8 minutes from my house and I get to sleep in air conditioning. So the fact is, see what I mean? That's a fact. The air conditioner died. It's a fact. There ain't no way of reviving this 30-year-old thing. But the spiritual truth is the universe always provides for me, and it did. And I had a good night's sleep in a nice, cool place to sleep last night. So that's what we mean. Thou shalt, the second one, thou shalt not speak the word of lack or limitation. Pay attention to the words of lack and limitation that we might be speaking. We went through all of these. 3, thou shalt trust the promise of abundance. And our task for that was breathe in and let go and put down with your full weight in the promise and make this as your mantra. I trust life, all that I need comes to me. This is a great affirmation. I trust life and all that I need comes to me. And then the 4th was, thou shalt listen and follow Spirit's lead, which would be that divine guidance that we listen for intuitively. The task was, open your heart and mind to Spirit and listen, then follow. Number 5, thou shalt regularly attend to forgiveness. You can never get away from forgiveness. It plays into every spiritual practice that you have, forgiveness. And your task was every evening, before you fall asleep, to ask yourself, who have I put out of my heart today? Who have I put out of my heart? And then forgive and bless them. You don't have to like them, but you can forgive for yourself, and you can bless them. So here we go with the second part of this 10 Commandments. Number 6, thou shalt not covet that which is another. A famous movie producer, director, who appeared to have it all, but never felt that he had enough. You ever know people like that? They have, it's like they have everything, but they don't feel that. They don't have that abundance consciousness. Anyway, one said, and this is what he said, every time a friend succeeds, I die a little. Ooh. And when we covet, is it covet? I keep saying that. It doesn't sound right. It's not a word I use every day. Covet. When I covet on another person's actions and what they have, it really is a jealousy that is taking place. We are jealous. And what happens is we do die a little because we're stopping the faucet of life's flow. That's what we're doing. Every time we have a jealousy feeling, it is stopping the flow of the universe from providing you with full abundance that you absolutely deserve. Or said another way by Dr. Joseph Murphy, great book, In the Power of Our Subconscious Mind, envy and jealousy are stumbling blocks to the flow of wealth. So if you want to be really wealthy, we are grateful and happy for those who succeed in our lives. Why? Because jealousy sends a very, very loud and crystal clear message to the universe, and that's to God's law, which is, you believe that the supply is limited. There is only so much to go around, right? Oh, that store's really busy. My store will never make enough. But there's more, there's always more than enough. We believe this. The teachings of all the great masters have told us this. It always serves us to be completely happy when someone else succeeds. And it attracts the principle of success to us. And we know that God is success. There is no failure in the mind of this divine energy. No failure. It always succeeds. To covet another's good. This is in Jack Addington in his book. I want to read this. The Hidden Mystery of the Bible gives us this wise counsel. To covet another's good doesn't diminish our own, for it holds up to life an image of lack for ourselves. To rejoice in another's good fortune is the best way of all to build an awareness of the very same thing for ourselves. We can build the exact thing for us, that's what we want. So task number 6 then. Whenever you hear or see another person prospering, even if you think that he or she is doing much better than you could ever do, you are going to say 2 sentences, either in your head or out loud. And you're going to say, wow, that's great. I am so happy for them. Wow, that's great. I am so happy for them. I always am happy when people manifest. The more outrageous it is, the happier I get. It just makes me happy to see other people manifesting. So that's task number 6. Moves us on to 7, demandment. Thou shalt keep thy good in circulation. There's an old saying, when things get tight, someone's got to give. I'm going to propose this morning that something or someone is you. Ernest Holmes said it beautifully in the Science of Mind book. When he wrote this, when circulation is retarded, stagnation results. It is only as we follow the divine current to flow through us, in and out, that we really express life. The law of giving and receiving is definite. Emerson tells us, beware of holding too much good in your hands. When we are in need or feeling a financial tightening, as we can, we have a tendency to pull in, to just pull in. Of course, it seems like an automatic response. I know I've been there. It feels like an automatic response. And while I'm not suggesting wild and reckless shopping spree, although that sounds fun, I'm not suggesting that at all. I am suggesting to be mindful of a consciousness of hoarding. Because anyone that really hoards, there's a whole lack and limitation onto that. I'll never have enough. So I can't part with anything. That's why Reverend Barb's initiatives are so great, because she's telling you, clean your closet out. You know, release so you can make way for the new. Because that's how that works. A powerful and explicit illustration of this idea of the need to stay in the circulatory process can be found, this is a great story, in 2 seas located in Palestine. Both seas are fed by the river Jordan. One is fresh, well-stocked, with fish and patches of grass all around its banks. Trees spread their branches over it and stretch out their thirsty roots to sip of its healing power. Homes are built near it, children are playing all around it, and the area prospers. To the south lay the other sea. It has no fish, no fluttering leaves, no laughter of children, no song of birds. Travelers choose another route rather than go by this sea and its heavy laden energy. And neither man nor beast or fowl will drink from this water. What's the difference? It's the same water from the river Jordan. It's the same one that flows into both seas. It is not the soil and the countryside surrounding it. Both areas are the same. So what's the difference? The first sea, the Sea of Galilee, the sea that is alive and rich, receives but does not keep its water from the river Jordan. It does not keep it. For every drop of water that flows into it, another drop flows out. It's in the flow of circulation. The other sea is not so generous. It hoards its water and releases not one drop. The Sea of Galilee gives life. The other sea gives nothing. And it is aptly named the Dead Sea. It's not made up. This is really true. It's because nothing goes out and everything comes in. It is our only intention. If our only intention is to hold on to our good and hoard it, we will stop that circulation to back up into our lives as well. And our lives become filled with stagnation. So in order to keep that energy flowing, we have to keep it circulating. It must be circulating. Give and receive. It's the same thing, actually, but it is the outlet. And if you can't receive, you're also blocking the flow of circulation, the flow of your good. You're good. If our only I said that. Like the river, money must keep flowing. Otherwise, it begins to stagnate, to clog, to suffocate, and to strangle its very own life force. Circulation keeps it alive and vital. I know so many people who are so wealthy and they don't go anywhere. They don't spend it. They're not philanthropists. They don't give it out. And they live very small, confining lives. While other people who have the same money or less are enjoying life. They're out circulating money. So you see that law of circulation is so important. So this is our task. Ask and answer this question. Where could you give more freely? Where can I give more freely? That's your task. Number 8, this is the 8th commandment. Thou shalt not steal, which is also the 8th commandment. But this is a little bit different, where thou shalt not steal from thyself. What in the world can I mean by that? How do you rob yourself of your good? Having thoughts of unworthiness, of undeservedness, any thoughts that in your current state of affairs is because you are bad or unworthy, undeserving, never coming to anything, you'll never amount to anything. Those are all stealing from your own self-worth, from the truth of who you are, a divine creation of the one life. Yes, the cause and effect is always at work. It never fails. The law, the spiritual law, will always give back what we think, what we do, and what we put into it. It is absolute. It is absolute. One way or another, it's giving us back. The best news is that we have an ability, if we change and when we change our consciousness, to change our expectations. I expect good every day. I wake up every day and I expect good in my life. And it's all of its forms. So my air conditioner broke. That didn't look good. But then I had a place to stay. It was only 8 minutes away. That was nice and cool. That was good. I expected my good. And the universe never disappoints me. I love that. I love that. So, on Science of Mind, in Science of Mind, chapter on Law of Attraction that Ernest Holmes wrote, he says this: we should definitely, daily, declare the truth about ourselves. Yes, realizing that we are reflection. We are reflecting our statements into consciousness, and that they will be operated upon by the law. This is called mysticism, high invocation, invoking the divine mind, implanting within it seeds of thought relative to oneself. And this is why some of the teachings of olden times, you know this is Ernest Holmes writing, olden times used, I like this, used to instruct their pupils, children, that they put their hands over their chest and they say, wonderful, wonderful me. Wonderful, put your hands over your chest and just say, wonderful, wonderful me.
Wonderful, wonderful
I'll
me.
say it with more feeling than that. Wonderful, wonderful me. Yes, it feels so good. It feels like so nourishing. How often do we do that for ourselves? This is what we should be doing every day. So the task is to remind yourself daily who you are and whose you are. You are a child, remember that, of God. You've been created out of His divine flowing energy. Number 8, thou shalt have an attitude of gratitude. One of my favorites. An attitude of gratitude. I bet you were wondering maybe when this one would pop up, because that gratitude is so key to creating good in our lives. Because God is expecting us to be great. That's not why we do it. Is it that God expects us to be grateful? No, God really, this universal energy does not care. It is the infinite giver of all good. It is always giving. It's nothing to take because it gives life. It gives creation and never repeats itself. So it's not requiring anything in return. Words of thanksgiving align us with the flow of the divine. Don't you know, and you know, how good you feel when you're grateful? I mean, it's very uplifting. And when you're not feeling grateful, it doesn't feel good. It just doesn't feel good. He wrote this too. A thankful heart is in harmony with life. That's when you're in the flow, when you're in harmony with life, capital L. A thankful heart is in harmony with life. A thankful heart pulls us into the divine flow of life. Feelings of gratitude align us with the universal riches. And being grateful for the stuff that doesn't look so good is a powerful way to align. It's a discipline. It's a powerful way to align. Let's use the rising gas prices as an example. They're always rising. They go down and then they rise back up again. Okay, so we see the gas going up. The price of the gas is going up. And we watch our monthly, well, we didn't watch this movie. There is a movie that we watched once called Drive, and it shows us how this gas is rising, but what we can truly be grateful for is that we are turning, and it's looking that way, we are turning to alternative ways of using power on this earth. Many different and efficient ways of harnessing energy. So what's the use of complaining anyway? It doesn't do us any good except to make us feel, lowers our vibrational frequency is what it does, it lowers it. And I love this quote from Emma Curtis Hopkins. Complaints increase conditions. Remember that? Complaints just gives you back more of what you're complaining about. It's the way it works. The famous scholar Matthew Henry once wrote, when he was accosted by thieves and robbed of his purse, he wrote these words in his diary. Let me be thankful, first, because I was never robbed before. Second, because although they took my purse, they did not take my life. Third, because although they took my all, it was not that much. And fourth, because it was not I who did the robbing. I was not the robber. So the task for us then, and we might call this one a no-brainer, is how many things a day can we be grateful for? And how many times can we say, I'm so grateful, I am so grateful? Do you ever really get into like an accident or an injury or a situation, and always the optimist will say, oh my God, it could have been so much worse. This could have happened, and this could have happened, and this could have happened. That's the same kind of vein as the man that was robbed. It could have been so much worse. But I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that this didn't happen and this didn't happen. That's that attitude of gratitude, and that puts you in a much better place. So number 9, as I told you, to say it at least a dozen times a day. You're grateful for something. I'm so grateful, God. Our final commandment, thou shalt not look to no other source but God for thy supply. Remember, one source, many, 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 many channels, limitless channels of good flow through and to you. This is the most important commandment. And it's so important that I'm going to save it for next week. Because that's a whole talk in itself about God is my source and supply of all good. So that's for next week. For now, there are 10 prosperity commandments. And well, they're not in your program, but something else is in your program that we're going to read together at the end. But I'm going to read them real fast. First, I shall not make no graven mental images of lack. I shall not speak the word of lack and limitation. I shall trust the promise of abundance. I shall listen and follow Spirit's lead. I shall forgive. I shall not covet, which is another's. I shall keep my wealth in circulation. I shall not steal from myself, or anyone else, actually. I shall have an attitude of gratitude, and I shall look to no other source for my good or my supply. There's one source and one supply. So what I want us to do right now, I have included in your bulletin. Emma Curtis Hopkins was a teacher of teachers in New Thought. And she wrote this in one of her books. And I just think this is so, she was such a powerful healer. All the New Thought teachers from all around in the late 1800s, beginning 1900s, including Ernest Jones, came to her for guidance. This is what I want us all to read this, okay? Let's do it together. The good I am seeking is my good. My God is my life. The good I am seeking is my health. God is my health. The good I am seeking is my strength. God is my strength. The good that I am seeking is my support. God is my support. The good I am seeking is my defense. God is my defense. Life is God. Truth is God. Love is God. Substance is God. God is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. And so it is. Yes. All right.